let's talk My Hero Academia. Okay, so in this episode, Deku got ripped. The end. Okay, so after seeing Deku's display of heroism in the plaza with the sludge villain, All Might finally decides that he's found a worthy successor and asks Deku if he would like to inherit his power, which Deku obviously accepts, but not before becoming confused on the whole idea about inheriting a quirk and all that. And during this point, All Might reveals the properties of his quirk One for All, which essentially functions as a quirk that gets stronger with each user it passes on to. For example, for every person that inherits it, it gets inherently stronger and builds on their initial energy. But then All Might also explains shortly after that Deku would need to train and help clean up a dumping spot that wasn't initially a dumping spot but became a dumping spot in order to train his body, because his body won't be able to handle it otherwise, because if not, his limbs would just shoot straight off. Quite literally, as All Might explains. So he gives Deku a schedule for him to follow, but he adjusts it for Deku's body and weight in mind. But Deku doesn't listen, and he does it exactly as written, which causes him to overwork himself, which All Might immediately discovers after almost like a month or so toward the entrance exam, and tells Deku that he needs to take it easy and follow the schedule as written. But Deku refuses because he says he doesn't just want to be a hero, he wants to be the best hero like All Might, which touches All Might's heart. And then the morning of the exam realizes that Deku has cleaned up the entire beach, even outside of where he asked him to clean. And it's kind of in this moment where All Might realizes that Deku was finally worthy to receive the power, and says some really profound thing about how it's not the luck of what you're given, but the power of what you're earned, and tells Deku to remember those words right before ripping out one of his own hairs and asking Deku to eat it. I'm not kidding. That's how the power is inherited. You have to ingest the DNA of the person who last had it in order to gain the power. So that's how One for All works. It transfers from one person to the other, but you need a bit of their DNA for it to work. So a hair, per se, in All Might's case. And it does, and Deku isn't even entirely sure if his quirk works yet, because he hasn't had the chance to test it out, and is at the entrance exam, and he didn't have time to test it out because they had to go right from the beach to where Deku had been training for the past 12 months to the exam room. And it's here that we get an explanation as to how the exams actually work. There are 4 types of monsters, and one of them has no points. And Deku also has some interaction with a girl who we don't really know much about, because, well, I mean, she's important. We know she's important because she's in the OP, and we know she's important, at least to some degree. And I'm assuming she's gonna wind up being one of Deku's classmates once he gets in, because it's about how he becomes the world's greatest hero. So of course he's going to get in. And this is the third to last, and this is almost the last episode of the entrance exam arc, I believe. I think the arc only expands to the first 4 episodes of this, and then the rest of the episodes are a different arc. But yeah, she also saves Deku because he trips on the way into the entrance hall and almost falls flat on his face. If she hadn't saved him with her quirk, which is the ability to levitate things, I want to say, then he probably wouldn't have landed flat on his face and hurt himself. And then she wishes him luck and goes inside, and Deku starts freaking out because he talked to a girl, even though he didn't actually say anything. He just stood there like an idiot. But yeah, Bakugo is a lot nicer to Deku now. I mean, he still verbally abuses, but physically, not anymore. He stopped trying to fight Deku now, because Deku kind of proved himself when he rushed in headfirst and tried to save Bakugo. So, and we also see another guy who, during the exam explanation, not only points out that there are 4 monsters on the thing, but that Deku has been rambling to himself since the entrance exam explanation began, and it's distracting him. So Deku shuts his mouth, and then the guy gets in his explanation and sits down. And people also comment that it's a bit like a video game, which it is, because that's how it was made. And I've assumed, and the entrance exam guy, I believe his name is Front Mike. It might be something different, but I'm not sure. I think it's Front Mike. That would make sense because he's a sound-based superhero, but I wouldn't know. I'll have to look that up and put it on the video or something, because I can't remember for the life of me. He had a cool design though. I liked his costume. I mean, there's not much else to this episode. It's around this time where the exams start, so we're gonna see what the actual entrance exam is, which we got an explanation for. It's about them using their various quirks to take down the 3 out of the 4 monsters, because the 4th monster rewards no points, and you could kill it, but there's no real point, and is really only there to serve as an obstacle. So yeah, Deku has his work cut out for him, because A, he doesn't know what his quirk actually does, and B, he's in a class with a bunch of other people who have had their quirks for far longer. And I mean, it's divided up into sections, so he doesn't have Bakugo in his entrance exam, but he does have the girl and the guy who we met outside and inside the entrance exam hall, as we've seen saw in a little pan over shot. But overall, there's not much else to this episode. It's just establishing what's going on. So it just establishes that, it just explains how All Might's quirk One for All works, and it also explains why he couldn't give Deku the quirk right away, but it doesn't explain what it actually does, and I'm assuming that's going to be important, because there's 3 seasons to this. I mean, there's 3 seasons to this, and I think it's in the middle of the 4th one, so there's clearly there's clearly a lot more of the story than I know. I mean, don't comment anything down below. I don't want anybody spoiling anything. Although I should mention that somebody did comment some lore facts about another anime I'm reviewing. You know which one it is. You'll know which one it is, because I'll tack that onto the beginning of the video. But yeah, definitely a good 3rd episode of this. It not only shows how dedicated Deku is to becoming a superhero, but it also shows that All Might is kind of proud of him, like a father that he never had. Because we haven't seen Deku's father. We've only really heard about him. We know that he can control fire, and Deku's mom can control things with her mind, but we haven't seen anything regarding who he is. Is the father even in the picture anymore? Is he dead? Are they divorced? I don't know, but that would be interesting to see. I'd like to learn more about Deku's family, I think. I would enjoy that, because, I mean, I've gotten completely off topic, but I would like to see Deku form a father-son relationship with All Might that he may or may not have had, because I don't think Deku had a father growing up. He isn't in the anime at the very least, so where is he? I don't know if we get an explanation for that, but I've been rambling for that point for too long. Focus. So, yeah, this episode was about Deku getting buff and going to the entrance exams. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. It doesn't have to do a whole lot, but it does. So, yeah, it also does give us some more about the whole story and what's going on here. So, yeah, I can definitely see why this anime was recommended to me. I can definitely see why people like the whole superhero concept of it. I've heard about it. I didn't watch it. Now I'm watching it, and I love it. So, if you guys have seen this episode of My Hero Academia, what did you guys think? Let's get a discussion going in the comment section down below, or over on my Discord server, link in the description as always. Either way, thank you guys so much for watching this episode. If you liked it, hit that like and the subscribe button. Also be sure to follow me on Facebook and on Twitter in the description below, and be sure to check out my Patreon to help me fund future videos like this one. So, thank you guys so much for watching this episode, and until next time, I will see you guys in the next video. Peace!